This is Chris Kidd with the first presentation in our Lifestyle Makeover series, Effective Workout 101. And what I want to underline in this presentation is not the end-all and be-all of working out, but what we have found over the years in our business to be an effective system that will allow you to get the results that you deserve with minimal time and effort. And I think that's going to be the biggest thing, is that most people, take way too much time to work out, and don't really know what to do. And so with that in mind, we kind of explore some of the myths and benefits of strength training, and how we break it down and utilize it effectively in our routine. So one of the myths that I get a lot with my female clients is that all strength training is going to make you bulky. And I think this is kind of the image that we get for traditionally females when we think about strength training is, we have this athletic, bulky looking dude, and then we have another dude here in a dress. Okay, and this is what I want to emphasize, the fact that this is a dude in a dress, but this is, I think, what most women see when they look in a mirror. And sort of another analogy that I like, it was actually a Doonesbury cartoon I saw a few years ago. You have a woman that, really beautiful woman that looks in the mirror and sees herself as like this really bulky, like bodybuilding looking thing that is not representative of what she actually looks like. Whereas you have this fat guy that looks in the mirror and he sees, really muscular dudes. So women are always thinking the worst, I think, when it comes to this. And what I want to emphasize is that, strength training is a tool like anything else. We can use the tool to get really positive effects, and in some cases, strength training to some degree can make you bulky, but if it's done correctly, you're going to look great. And so we really want to dig into this idea of how we use it effectively. Another myth that I see a lot is that high reps tone, low reps bulk. Okay, I get this a lot. So I see women in the gym all the time doing things for 50 reps and using ridiculously lightweight. And I think this is sort of the message that's been fed to our culture. And this is one of the propagators of that message. Her name is Tracy Anderson, and Tracy has been made famous by her use of 3-pound dumbbells or less. All right, and while she's gotten good results with her clients, and she's popular in the mainstream, I would argue that there's a better way to go about this. I think that it feeds into the idea that this is the only way to go. And in reality, when it comes to weight training, it's the exact opposite. When we devote any large amount of volume to a certain body part, okay, so let's say I'm going into the gym and I'm doing chest and biceps. If I do enough volume for my chest, yes, it will grow regardless of whether I'm a woman or a man. And it's the same thing for my arms. And so high reps, and I don't care how much weight you're using, are going to create enough tension on the muscle and enough time under tension to create muscle growth, and that's what happens. Whereas when we're doing low rep strength training, if I put my muscles under tension with a very heavy weight for, let's say, 10 seconds or 15 seconds it takes to do 3 to 5 reps, there's absolutely no way that I'm putting them under stress long enough to create a stimulus for growth. And really, that's the biggest thing, is that we have to look at sort of the mechanics behind why this stuff works and why it doesn't. And that is not to say that there are some exceptions, but in general, kind of this is what we're looking at, and these are sort of the things that we can expect. So I want you to flip this. Low reps tone and high reps are not always going to bulk, but they do have that effect if we are utilizing weight. And our final myth, and I think this is one that is changing. I definitely see a lot more women strength training and doing things like squatting, deadlifting, and I think that's huge progress. But one thing that I also hear is that all I really need to do to be fit is cardio. And in reality, cardio is great, but people succumb to overuse injuries when all they do is run. And an example would be 83% of runners are injured every year because really, in many cases, all they do is run. Okay, and so while cardio is a piece of the puzzle for sure, we want to address our muscles as well as our mobility and everything else that we'll talk about in this presentation. So again, we want to be well-rounded with what we do and make the most out of our time, as opposed to spending an hour to 2 hours on a cardio machine when we really get into the point of diminishing returns after about 5 to 10 minutes. So let's talk about some truths. Some strength training will make you bulky, okay? And this is an image of a female CrossFit competitor, okay? And again, I'm cherry picking this to support my ideas. So, again, this is definitely my propaganda. But as you can see, this is probably a little bit bigger than the average woman wants to be. And one thing that I've heard a lot recently is that women don't want to have that sort of boxy CrossFit physique. And I think that really using CrossFit as an example. With CrossFit, I think one of the benefits of it is that they utilize very heavy strength training. With most boxes now, they're going to start with a heavy strength training workout, whether it be back squats or, power cleans or bench pressing or whatever. And that's all good. Okay, it's going to get you strong. It's going to allow you to lift heavier weight. The problem with that, and that on its own is not going to create a lot of muscle bulk. The problem with that is immediately afterwards, then we're going into these high rep WODs where I'm doing things like 75 push-ups, 50 box jumps, power cleans, that kind of thing. That's putting a huge amount of tension on my muscles, and as a result, we get this muscular growth that we see here. And so again, it just goes back to the idea that any large amounts of tension that I put on a certain area, we're going to get this boxy physique. I guess one of the big things that I see a lot in CrossFit programming is power cleans, and that's where, you're holding a barbell, you flip it up on your shoulders. As a result, it creates this sort of boxy physique that we see in a lot of our female clients that come to us from, CrossFit. And so that's one thing. Another would be these high volume bodybuilding workouts, okay, that you're going to see a lot in commercial gyms. So for example, you do back and biceps one day, you do chest and triceps the next day, you do legs, focusing on, a particular body part or an area, again, and you're doing a lot of volume for those areas, is really the fundamental elements for growth. This style of training comes out of bodybuilding, which the goal of bodybuilding is to get bigger and stronger. And initially in the 80s, that was a male thing to do, was bodybuilding, and then it came more, it became more of a both sexes as well. But the point is that while this is a great way to build your muscles and to develop a great body, it's probably not the best way to develop muscle tone within your given frame. So there are times to do it, but when it comes to strength training, again, we want to think heavier weightlifting, shorter reps, really get in and get out. That's going to be one of the big themes that we talk about throughout this presentation. Another thing that we want to look at is the difference between the sexes, all right? And so some ideas with that. Women generally have a higher makeup of endurance-based muscle fibers than men. And so what that means is that, women are much better able to, go longer with weightlifting. Women have a much greater degree of what is called relative strength, where over a long period of time, they can do more reps, whereas a man, much better base of explosive power where he can lift heavier weights for fewer reps. So the point is that, they say the best type of workout is the opposite of what you're used to. So we want to kind of flip the script on that. When we look at the anatomy of the female body as well, versus the male body, we sort of see this pair as apple shape, where we have a small upper body, and a sort of a larger or a more, I guess, curvature in the lower body. And what that really means is that males and females, if you look pound for pound, in the lower body are about equivalent in terms of their strength. I mean, certainly males have more muscular bulk, so they can lift more, but if we have a male that's the same height, female that's the same height, same weight, their potential for strength in, say, a back squat or a deadlift is around the same. Whereas in the upper body, a male has much greater ability to produce force because his upper body is wider. Okay, and that's just biomechanics. But what that means is that we want to concentrate a little bit more strength training in the upper body for our female clients, as well as focusing a little bit more on hip dominant strength training. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in the next slide. So when we're looking at the female versus the male pelvis, there are two key things that we want to consider. Number one, you can see that the female pelvis slopes in much more than the male pelvis, which is a little more narrow. As a result, what ends up happening is we have sort of these knock knees that you see here, as well as sort of a biasing of the inner thighs as well as the quads, which means that these are going to be stronger. This imbalance between strength of the front of the legs versus the back of the legs is a mechanism for injury in a lot of our female athletes. And another injury that we see a lot in our females is what are called ACL or ACL tears. Females are more likely to tear their ACLs because they're already in this position of sort of internal rotation where the knees are, and valgus where the knees come together. And so as a result, we want to place a lot more focus on strengthening the muscles of the hips and the side of the legs and the butt. Another thing to consider, is that females oftentimes are going to, come into our gym, come into working out, while after wearing things like heels and more positive soled shoes. And as you can see here at the bottom, we have somebody that's standing completely upright, but you tilt them forward 70 degrees in a pair of heels. What they have to do is arch their back to get themselves up to neutral. From an aesthetic perspective as well, what you see is that her stomach is also kind of sticking out as a result because she's arching her back. That has nothing at all to do with body fat, and but it has everything to do with sort of just her geometric shape. And so, the people think, oh, I have bad posture. This is one of the big reasons why. And what this does is it shifts all my weights into the front of the toes. And so as a result, again, the front of my legs and the muscles of the front side of my body are tightened all the time. And if you ever feel things like tension in the front of your legs, knee pain, even lower back pain, that's because all these muscles along the front side of my body are doing work all the time. So one of the best things that you can do is shift your weight into your heels just to help to rebalance this a little bit and use your butt a little bit more. But in any case, one of the goals for our training program is to bias doing a little bit more hip dominant activities such as hip lifts and deadlifts that we'll show you throughout our presentation. So again, here's another view of this is what I call anterior weight shift. And so what we have here, if you look on the left here with this O, we have sort of these alignment points from her ear to her shoulder to her pelvis to her knee to her ankle. All these things are lined up almost, on top of one another. Whereas if we have somebody with just 10 degrees of forward lean, this sort of line from her pelvis to her foot now drops to the front of her foot versus her ankle. And as a result, all my weight is going to be shifted forward, meaning the muscles on the front side of my body are going to be a lot more active as a result. You can also see this graphic here. Every inch that we wear in a heel, we're going to shift more weight to the toes. And, they say the second toe, which your navicular joint is usually the most common for foot pain and foot injury in women. And if you wear heels and you've had this issue, you know what I'm talking about. The final thing that we want to look at with this, if you're a runner, is that runners, particularly our female runners, are going to be much more quad dominant. When that happens, what I do is I end up striking farther out in front of my body. As a result, I put a lot more what I call shearing forces on my body, and my body has to do more to dampen the impact. And over the course of 10 miles or a marathon pace or whatever, that starts to create more jarring on my body, and as a result, things like knee, low back, and hip pain. So when we strengthen our butt, we're able to strike closer to our center of gravity, and as a result, we build our butt with each step, and we're less likely to get things like knee, lower back pain. So that's another reason to strengthen your butt also. So what does all this information tell us? All right, number one, low reps and progressive resistance is absolutely crucial to gaining strength without size. And if you're unfamiliar with the term progressive resistance, it means you got to make stuff heavier. Okay, again, one of the biggest errors that I see in the gym is people just doing the same thing at the same weight at the same rate all the time, and so they never kind of get above the threshold of intensity necessary to change their body. So we definitely want to do that and try to make things harder in some way with every workout, and we'll talk more about that. The next one would be to focus a little bit more on upper body strength work and lower body strength work, which focuses on hip and posterior chain work. So I'm doing a little bit more volume for my upper body, and for my lower body, I'm going to focus a little bit more on my butt. For core training, we're focusing on isometric stabilization, okay, things like planks and side planks, because what that's going to do is help to flatten our stomach, build better posture, build better postural awareness. And really the biggest thing in this presentation is that less is more, okay? I don't want you to go into the gym and do 50 exercises, all right? You get to a point of diminishing returns really after about 4 to 8 exercises. And so we'll talk about making stuff more efficient, and really the less you do, the more results that you're going to gain, and as you'll see. So number one, step one in our program is get to know your coach and classmates. The number one reason why somebody hires a personal trainer is accountability. All right, that is the key to further progress. So in the beginning, you'll be motivated, but you'll lose that motivation quickly. Okay, so we want to build systems around that motivation to keep things going. Number one, I want you to build a bond with your coach. All right, make sure whoever ends up as your coach that you actually like them, and you can trust them. If you don't, ask me for another coach. That's perfectly fine. But that bond is going to help them to hold you accountable, as well as to make stuff fun. Okay, there's nothing worse than coming into the gym and it's sucking, right? So we try to make it a fun experience, and that's what I want you to think about is, what are some things that you actually enjoy, and mention that stuff to your coach. The other thing is that your coach is going to check in on you every week. Okay, they're going to talk about your progress, you're going to set your goals with them, and they're kind of like your conduit to success with our program. So I want you to kind of look at them as your exercise mentor in that way. Really, and the other thing is, the goal is to build friendship and support. I've done both boot camps, personal training, group training. these larger groups or groups in general are one of the most powerful things that I've ever seen, because you see relationships form from it. You see people break bread together, and you see people that otherwise would not come in, come in because they have their friends, and that is a big thing too. And so as you're going throughout this program, I want you to think about, look at people around you, who is doing the same thing as you, who is, working the same muscles, who has the same goals. Maybe that person is somebody to go out to eat with. Maybe they're a workout buddy that you could walk the lake with. All of that stuff is important, because ultimately, having friends that share your goals and that you surround yourself with are going to be sort of the makeup of what you become. And, all of these things over time is what I've seen that lead to success in general. And so our goal with our program in the beginning is to develop what we call intrinsic motivation through extrinsic mechanisms. And really those are just big words for extrinsic motivation being things like me giving you points for achieving things, or doing stuff with a partner, or being rewarded $50 for meeting a benchmark. Okay, these are all things that I give you as a reward, as basically bribery. Okay, in the beginning, that's what you're going to need a little bit more, because you're not necessarily just going to be motivated on your own to do this. But our goal with you over the course of our program is to make this intrinsic. Okay, and what that means is that you exercise because it's just a part of who you are. Okay, it's no longer an issue of I do it for a couple weeks and I stop. It becomes part of your identity. And sometimes this works with my clients and sometimes it doesn't. But the success stories that I've seen, people adopt this into their life, and it's not, your life doesn't revolve around exercise, but exercise just becomes a part of your life. And in some way, shape, or form, you get it in. And you realize that you're not always going to have the optimal experience with it. You're not always going to be able to work out for an hour. But the bottom line is, you want to figure out some way to get it done. And, for somebody that's intrinsically motivated, you always will, because it's something that you kind of say, this is part of who I am, and that's really what we want. And so our accountability formula, kind of how you're going to be successful with this, number one, we want you to log your off days and your workouts and trainerize. And this is going to be progressive. In this first month, all I want you to do is just log your workouts at the gym. All right, become a master of that, and show up to class 3 to 5 days a week. That's it. All right, that really is going to be the keys to success. Consistency is really your friend. And over this first month, I want you to think about all the things that are going to help you to be accountable. All right, set goals with your coach and take 5 minutes with them on a weekly basis to talk about those goals. All right, report things that are not going well. All right, we want you to be successful, and we will make changes to your program based upon what you tell us. And the other thing is that we want you to meet people in our classes that share your same goals. So we have a Facebook group for our clients called Peak Challenge. We want you all to join that. We want you to enjoy it. We want you to use it. Ask questions in there, respond to our moderator, and realize that if you don't show up to class, we will be on your ass. Our coaches will call you. We will text you. That is what you are paying us to do. And so I think our program does a really good job of that. And that's one of the big things, is that we do care. So we will make sure to stay on you in that way. Step 2 is building a foundation. Okay, and for us, that means this progressive resistance idea. All right, progressive resistance means that in weight training, we add 2.5 pounds to 5 pounds every week. Okay, or that means we add difficulty. So, like for example, in a push-up, if I can't do a push-up, on the ground yet, if I'm doing a push-up on the wall, that means that maybe I move to like a chair versus going all the way to the ground. But, I can't necessarily add weight to that. Whereas if I'm squatting, maybe I hold a heavier dumbbell or something like that. So there are a lot of ways to go about it, and this doesn't just mean weight training. But the bottom line is, regardless of what you're doing, whether it be cardio or strength training, whatever, look at what you do, log your exercise, and then say, okay, next time I do it in some way, once you have the form down, once you're comfortable with it, how can I make this harder? This is really the key to everything. And if you take nothing else from me, I hope that you take this, because this is sort of the foundation here. And so the other concept here is that strength is the foundation over which all other qualities are built. You want to run faster in a race, get stronger. You want to do CrossFit and get better at that, get stronger first. You want to get better in spin class and not get hurt. Stronger tissue is more resilient to injury. So really, strength can be seen as sort of like the bowl through in which all other things are poured. All right. And so for us, that means that we have standards that we want our clients to meet before we're going to move them on to a more structured program. And so for us, what our strength standards look like is this. And this is a sample size of over probably 5,000 women that I've worked with in 10 years as a trainer. And so we look at these things and we think, okay, 10 push-ups on the floor, that's not so hard. Split squats with a 50-pound dumbbell goblet style. Okay, that looks like a lot of weight, but I've seen it done many, many times. Deadlifting your body weight. All right, inverted rows for 10 reps with your legs straight. Okay, that's sort of like a body weight semi pull-up. One-arm dumbbell row with 35 pounds and single leg deadlifting a 45-pound kettlebell. Okay, what I want to emphasize is all of this stuff is very attainable, even in 8 weeks. Okay, but the goal is don't worry about anything else at this point. Show up 3 days a week, get stronger, add weight to the bar, or add difficulty, whatever you're doing, and really all of the other things physically for you will fall into place because stronger tissue, if you get stronger in a push-up, all the muscles that are involved in a push-up develop muscle tone as a result. Okay, and that's our goal, is to push you harder, and see the results and log them and let that show up. And so that kind of leads me into our next step. Log it where it didn't happen. Okay, and so we want to create a training log. Okay, a training log equals a nutrition log. Like a lot of people that I know keep a nutrition log, but they never thought about logging their exercises. And really, it's the same thing. What that equates to is consistency, accountability, and tangible progress. And so that's the thing. I want you to ask yourself with each workout, are you actually getting stronger? If the stuff is staying the same, then the answer is no. Okay, you're plateauing. And so we want to know that stuff. And the only way that we will is if we keep a log. And so in our program, we use a website called we use an app called Trainerize that we have you log your stuff in. But you can also log in a notebook if you so desire, whatever allows you to do it. But the point is that we want to keep track of that stuff because we want you to see, that we add weights over a period of 8 weeks. And I've always seen progress and results as a result of you getting stronger at a certain area. And so if you want better shoulders, improve your overhead press. Okay, if you want a better butt, improve your deadlift. Okay, and if you see a 40 to 50 pound increase in that, you can be damn sure those body parts are going to tone as a result. And so what are we logging? What are the main things we want to look at? Number one, we want to log what are called our main lifts. All right, our main lifts are our big movers to get things stronger. Okay, and so those are things like squats, deadlifts, bench presses, things that we can add weight to and make harder with almost each session. Okay, so some things that I want you to think about. Are you adding 2.5 to 5 pounds of weight every week? Can you make things heavier from set to set? Typically what we do is we'll have 3 sets in each workout, with number 2 being our money set, or the set where we go up. So, I'm not saying that, start with 40, add 5, do it that way with each set. But on the second set, looking at what you did last workout, try to make it heavier, and just try to do that with each subsequent workout, and make that money set the one that gets you results. So the other thing that we log is endurance. Okay, and endurance is sort of the other end of the equation. We want to improve the muscular endurance of your muscles, and so we do that in 1 or 2 ways. Number one, we'll do push-ups or exercises like push-ups for anywhere from 30 to 45 seconds. Okay, and that's what we consider to be interval training. All right, so we do push-ups for 30 seconds. We count the number of reps that we logged. And then we write that number down. Okay, the next set, which is our money set, the second set, the goal is to get more. And on the third set, we might fatigue a little bit, but we want to try to keep it the same. And over time, again, we want to try to increase that number. And so we packed more work in the same amount of time, meaning we get better muscular endurance, we get in better shape. Another way that we could do that are through time circuits, where we do something like 8 to 12 reps. Say of 3 exercises for 6 minutes. Okay, the idea is that if I get like 3 rounds of those 3 things in 6 minutes, then that's my baseline. All right, if on the next workout I get like 5 rounds, again, I'm in better shape because I packed more work in the same amount of time. So our goal is to add in some way, with each workout. I'm not saying every set we get heavier, but we do want to try to push ourselves to the limit that we can with each thing that we do. And so logistics, how is this done? Number one, we log all of our stuff in Trainerize, which is an app that we created for our business. We'll get a lot more into this and include, videos of how to do this in our emails to you. But basically, you can log all of your stuff in this app. And in the beginning, we just want you to log your numbers in the gym in this app. Okay, your coach is going to help you do that. They'll walk you through that process. But I think on a day-to-day basis, we're also going to have your workouts written on a whiteboard, and we write these totals down during the workout, so you can see what you did, and then you can transcribe them into Trainerize, after the workout. I want to make sure, you can just do it into Trainerize if you're pretty quick, but in order to save time, the whiteboard is another option that we like. And so step 4 would be getting it all in, okay? What is most essential for working out, okay? And how do we do that, okay? The biggest thing with this is scheduling, okay? I want you to work out 3 times a week, okay? And really, I don't care how that comes. That could be Monday, Tuesday, Friday. It could be Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, whatever. One thing that Trainerize allows you to do is to schedule your workouts on different days. Let's say I had your workout scheduled on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but, you were sick on Monday. Well, you can go in and you can reschedule your Monday workout for Tuesday. Okay, so then you can just log your stuff and then come in on Wednesday. And so that allows you to schedule at your convenience versus the schedule that we set for you. Okay, the other element of our program is that we want you to do core and cardio work at home. But again, that's something that we'll get into a little bit more as we get into the subsequent weeks of our program. And so if we put it all together, again, what I'm looking for initially right now, 3 strength workouts a week. That's all I want you to worry about. Okay. You also have core and cardio workouts in your program. And if you choose right now, I'd love for you to do them. But right now, what I want you to focus on more than anything are strength workouts. Ideally, if I'm being strict, I want you to have 24 to 48 hours of recovery between each workout to make sure your muscles are not super, super sore. But again, get it done. That's going to be the main thing. And so 4 would be, our last step would be the anatomy of workout. Like, what is most essential? Why do we do what we do? Okay. For us, we try to put everything that you're going to need into one workout. So we foam roll to get mobile. Okay. We do our warm up and we work on mobility there to make sure you don't have aches and pains. We do core training to improve posture, get a flat stomach, improve your midsection. Strength work to develop muscle tone and endurance to get fit and to be able to do feats of superhuman strength. And so if we look at our components, these are all things in our program, but strength is by far the most crucial, by far the thing that we want to spend the most time on. And so if you don't have, an hour to spend on anything, I want you to focus on strength training. Okay, if you have 5 to 10 minutes, do 2 exercises. That's going to be absolutely crucial. I want you to focus on that. As far as warm-ups and corrective exercise goes, when you come into our gym, we'll have your foam in the yellow area, which is our warm-up area. We're going to have foam rolling posters and rollers in there. Okay, it's also going to show you what your workout looks like. There's going to be a warm-up poster as well. So we'll have 3 posters, which are our warm-up sequence, and then foam rolling posters as well. If you need to roll a particular area that hurts, go by the foam rolling poster, but otherwise, just kind of go through the routine that's in the warm-up posters, go through it, and you'll be ready to roll after that. So with core training, what you need to know is that power breathing is going to be the biggest element whenever you're doing your planks, your dead bugs, whatever we have you do. And what that means, the best core exercise that you could do is the one that flattens your stomach and that you can do all the time. And so what I want you to do is, you're watching this presentation, place one hand in your stomach, take a deep breath in, and try to fill your belly with air. Okay, I tell people you should get a Buddha belly. All right, purse your lips, blow out, and tighten your abs. It should be a long, long blowout, like you're blowing out candles and you're blowing as hard as you can. Blow out and tighten your abs, and think about shrink wrapping your abs to your spine. That type of breathing, take the deep breath in and then blowing out hard, what we call forced exhalation, turns on a muscle called your transverse abdominis, which is responsible for flattening your stomach. So when you're holding in planks, dead bugs, that kind of thing, I want you to think 6 to 8 breaths versus, say, doing it for 30 seconds. All right? If you can't breathe, you find that you're hyperventilating in those exercises, that means that you're not ready yet. You're not working your core. So, really focus on that and kind of be mindful of that, when you're looking at form. For strength training, really for us, just some key terminology to think about are reps and sets. All right, reps are the total number of times that we perform an exercise. A set is the number of times that we perform the exercise in total. So, I might give you something like 3 sets of 8 to 12. All right, generally for us, we'll give you a rep range, 8 to 12. So, or it could be 6 to 8, it could be 4 to 6. But whatever the rep range, if you exceed the rep range, okay, if I say 8 to 12, but yet you get 15. Okay, that means that you need to increase the weight. Okay, you need to increase the weight or add to the difficulty. If you get less than 8, okay, if you're not able to do the minimum amount that I want you to do, then you need to decrease the weight, make it easier. Okay, that's kind of an easy way to look at it. Our workouts are usually going to be performed, or our exercises are always going to be performed for 3 sets. So think of set 2 as your money set, and try to go up in that set. And so as far as conditioning goes, okay, we are not going to make you walk on treadmills. We're not going to make you run for long periods of time. Yes, I think those things are good for general health. When it comes to fat loss, I think there are better ways to go. So our goal with conditioning, or what we call cardio, quote unquote, is to elevate your heart rate. That's it. And that's done through short, intense bursts of activity. So 6 to 10 minutes of time, no longer than that. And what we'll do is we'll do things like sprints, medicine ball slams, burpees, rope slams, things like that are very hard. They can only be sustained for something like 30 seconds. All right, so we just progress the work to rest ratio. So we'll start you with something like 30 seconds of work followed by 30 seconds of rest. All right, what I want you to do is go as hard as you possibly can for 30 seconds, or whatever the rep range is. Okay, once you get in a little bit better shape, we'll go to 40 seconds of work, 20 seconds of rest, or something similar. But I guess my instruction to you here is bust your ass. All right, go as hard as you can. Your heart should be beating out of your chest by the time you're done. All right, that's really the type of cardio that's going to burn more fat outside the gym, because your metabolism is going to be raised. All right, and you're going to be burning more fat all day. And that's really what we want. As opposed to spending an hour or more on the treadmill. And so our success formula for the next 2 weeks. Okay, what I want you to focus on. Number 1, strength train 3 days a week. Come to class 3 days a week. If you're a 1 or 2 dayer, do an exercise or do a workout on your own. And come upstairs, let us help you if you need help. But again, the main thing is that you're getting your stuff in. This is it. This is all I want you to do. Do your stuff and log your exercises. Okay. If you do this, you'll start to be successful. You'll start to see change. And this is what I want you to start to incorporate in. Get consistent with this, and then in the next couple of weeks, we will start to add in more stuff. We'll start to talk about nutrition. But for now, let's keep things simple. Let's start to get strong, and we'll take it from there.